Memphis, 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 Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
Yo, what up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Grizz 901, your live post-game show. We are coming. It is late. It is 11:30 local, but we just got a big dub, so we're going to have a lot of celebrating tonight. We have a great show for you. Nate's going to be joining me, but right from off the top, we got Funaki stats, so make sure you join us. But tonight, what a win. The Grizzlies win 127-113. I know this place is going to fill up fast. It's going to be a great show tonight, so make sure you get in here and get in the comments, because in segment number 2, you know we're doing Grizz Trivia. It's a Funaki stats special for Grizz Trivia, and we're giving away $50 to whoever gets it first in the comments. And I actually already know what this is, and it's a tough one. So good luck, because you're going to need some brain work for this one. But tonight, it was a great game. Marcus Smart special, man. The guy was just throwing it in from deep all night long. And then the big three played well. Zaire played well. It was a good all-around game. But you know what? We have another big three. It's our big three. Let's go ahead and bring in our guys. Yo, Nate, what up, man? What up?
Taylor Jenkins, the best coach in the association.
Dude, he is a magician.
Oh, man. We got the I think I saw him called the evil stat sack with us right now. Should have replaced me with Sean. That'd have been fun.
All right, so we got the other guy in here. He's going to join us for, I think, a good portion of not the entire show. He might have to dip early. We'll see. But Funaki Stats, welcome, man. We can't hear you if you're talking.
Uh-oh.
Are you
I'm on. No, I'm on. I'm with you.
There you are. What's up, man?
Gotcha.
Hey, how we going? We good?
Good, man. How's life over there? Far away.
Oh, it's great, man. It's like 6:30 in the evening. Grizz just beat the Lakers. Doesn't get any better.
Listen, man, what a win. So Funaki has been obviously a friend of the show for a very long time. And I couldn't be more thankful to kind of have you join us. But tonight, the Grizzlies win. It was a great all-around game. But the fact that we're able to actually get you on this year, even though Steven Adams isn't around, it's my favorite, man. So thank you for joining us. But I'm going to go straight to you, Funaki. We're going to skip Nate on the first off the top rope. Off the top rope, Funaki, your initial thoughts about the game.
I just, this is the version of the Grizzlies that we've all been waiting to see, right? This is how they should be working. Forget Steven Adams. Yeah. This was just all the pieces falling into place. When was the last time we saw Desmond Bain playing with his food with 2 minutes to go? And just, it was, everybody did their bit. We shot, the thing that we've all been saying is let's put away the three-point shot. We shot 45 threes, I think third highest of the season, but we made 23 of them. And it was like, no one cared, right? We're making shots, we're playing with confidence, all the guys getting the touches. But I think the thing to really focus on here is this was as close to a must-win game we've had this season in terms of, if we're serious about making the play-in, the Lakers are right there. They're struggling, a couple of games under 500. We drop this, that's 2 games you've got to catch up.
Right.
So this felt like it had that urgency of a playoff game where you had to win, and they knew it. And, Jenkins took the rap last game and said, I didn't get the boys up for it. But it was the opposite today, right? The Lakers went up for it, came out and just took care of business in an absolutely huge win.
Yeah, it was an absolute huge win. As John 17 is, let's go. Like, listen, that is what I'm all about. And my favorite thing, the Grizz Girl 79, Nate's already started for me. We double clicked it. They all had that fire in their eye. That's my favorite one. I saw that. I had to get to it. So shout out to you, Grizz Girl 179. But Nate, off the top, man, what you got?
Taylor Jenkins for Coach of the Year.
In that man.
I may have put some early money on that before the season started because I was like, man, if they play well, we got a shot for some big money. But listen, if Marcus Smart's going to shoot 50% from 3 and drain 37 footers, and I got a good feeling about this team. Like that's awesome. But outside of just obviously the shot making tonight was far and away better than it's been all year for them. They played with a different energy.
They did.
All night
long.
The difference. All night long. There's one crazy lineup, but we're not going to harp on that tonight. But even through the crazy lineup, I'm like, they're playing hard. Like they are playing as a full team right now. And like that never stopped. And then I know Marcus Smart's going to be the big one because of the shooting night he had. Desmond Bane's going to be the other big one because of how hot he came in late when it mattered most. Dude, what about Jaren Jackson showing up for the matchup with AD, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, 31 and 9 tonight. I didn't even see his defensive stats. But, I mean, Jaren has gotten a lot of flack from a lot of Grizz fans, and including us on the show. Like, man, he's got to show up against these bigs. He just never shows up against these really elite bigs. There's not a big more elite in the game than AD physicality-wise, right? You got Embiid and Joker, I'd say, are a little above AD just pure game-wise, but physicality, AD's cream of the crop. Yeah. Jaren showed up tonight, put a move on him. Shout out Jaren.
Yeah. As Sherman says, Taylor for Coach of the Year, and then D'Angelo. We played well on national TV. Listen, D'Angelo, I think you're the one that's saying that Jaren was going to foul out. The Grizzlies don't play well on national TV. We finally did. I know that it's all about, you know what, we want to win. And so everybody's celebrating. It's a fun night, man. It is a fun night. So we got Funaki here. So we got to make sure we get through everybody's comments as always, but we got to get back to Funaki because we want to make sure we hear from you the most, honestly. Nobody cares about us. They hear from us enough.
Sure.
But Funaki, overall we're going to stick with this game, right? And then we'll get into the second segment where you do ask the Grizz trivia question. We're going to get in deeper into the team, what maybe the future looks like, because we're not probably going to talk to you for a little bit. And so I want to ask you those deep questions. But tonight on this game, the rotations. I know a lot of people have been talking about the rotation just in general from what we're seeing. I have a question. So the Grizzlies played 10 people overall in the game, right? And so the Lakers only went to 8. What say you about the difference of maybe the first half and the second half? Because then the Grizzlies went away from the 10 and went actually to a 9-man lineup and actually limited Santi Aldama just to 9 minutes overall. David Roddy didn't see the court, I don't believe, in the second half. But so overall, just looking at it, do you think that's a good adjustment? Do you think that's a smart adjustment? What's your thoughts on the rotation just overall?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers yet for the second half, but what it felt like is that, you know, we got there's 4 guys you want taking shots in that second half, right? The big 3 plus Marcus Smart in that game. And it felt like actually we got that balance right. We didn't have those, you know, Roddy and Santi dodgy positions where, you know, the shot clock's running down and it's in the wrong guy's hands.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you have to shorten it to 9 and you have to just, you know, I don't actually mind having a first half where you're trying to actually see who's playing that role player role with more confidence. Okay. But as long as you cut it down for that second half, and you know, when you've got Zaire playing like that, like he did tonight, he should be taking all of those rotation minutes, right? Cut it back to 8 and 9 and just let him roll because Jar was finding him. We had Lob Zaire back. When was the last time we had Lob Zaire? Three lob dunks. And he was confident, right? Getting Zaire in the corner, and you know, he does everything you need him to do there. He takes his open look. He's cutting behind the defense and there for the lobs. You know, I'm happy to see 25 minutes of Zaire and if we have to shorten up the rotation. You know, Roddy still looks lost, right? Roddy's finding his confidence, which he's never had all season. And you know, there reaches a point where you just have to cut that loose and just concentrate on winning.
Yeah. One guy who did play well, as Nate mentioned earlier, is Goon the Shooter. I'm sorry, not Goon the Shooter. It was Jaren Jackson Jr. played good tonight. Shout out to you, Goon. We have an LOL Nope Jones with the Google alert. Oh, no, that's a Goon alert. So we gotta give a hard time to our guy Goon the Shooter. He's always hard on our big man, Jaron. Tonight, listen, it was Jaron's night where he looked like he was staying upright and not getting too low with his hands, and where he's not actually getting himself in foul trouble. He did get 5 fouls, but listen, he banged all night. Like, the guy played very well, and so we do crap on him a lot. So we're gonna give him his props. But just looking through this overall through the stats, Nate, we're gonna go through the team stats. Looking through the assist, can you guess, or do you know how many assists that the Grizzlies had tonight as a team?
I'm okay. Sorry, I had to double check. Usually I go on mute when I'm not talking for a while, and then you make fun of me, and it hurts my feelings. But I have no idea. I would guess 20. Oh no, that can't be right. 32.
33. Look at you,
Dang,
cheater. So Desmond Bain with 13 assists tonight.
That was the number that made me go up. I was like, I knew that one.
That's the big thing, is when Desmond Bain is actually able to facilitate a little bit more. This offense free flows so much more than it was, and so that's what I'm looking at. But what impressed you tonight overall the most, outside of Marcus Smart with the 8 long balls? Jaron, and Bain all scored 20+ points, and then you add in Marcus Smart with another 20+ points. Like, those 4 scoring that big is huge. So what's your thoughts on just overall, just outside of the Desmond Bain or maybe the Marcus Smart 3-pointers? Anything else that looked out to you?
Yeah, well, just like my wreath and press Drew. Thanks for hopping in with us, Drew. That thing's got to come down soon. Zaire Williams. Let me look. I have it somewhere in the chat. Somebody pointed this out to me. Where is it at? This is Dak. It's our guy, Dak, who, by the way, before we move any further, Dak, new father. Congrats to Dak Daniels. Everybody seems to be healthy, so congrats to you, Dak. Excited for you, man. Hopefully I'm joining you soon.
Hey, his kid loves the Grizzlies.
I know. I saw that. You made sure we knew that. But he's also the one that brought this up. Zaire's the only bench player who scored tonight outside of one Tillman free throw.
It's crazy. What happened to Luke Kennard?
I don't know, man. His shoulder has just never been better. His shoulder's never gotten better since it got hurt. But Zaire, man, listen, they wasted one Zaire game. They didn't waste another one. And and like the last game, if you get that kind of play out of Zaire, you can't blow it.
Yeah.
Like the Raptors game was so frustrating again, not because they lost, even though they should have won. It was how they lost.
Yeah.
Right. If this team shows up against the Raptors, they win that game.
Yeah.
And then but then they show up tonight and you get that. And like Funaki was saying, you get that kind of effort out of Zaire Williams. It changes a lot for Memphis, right? Especially when you've got guys like Vince back who can take up some wing minutes, right? It's like all of a sudden you've got decisions to make, and it's the right kind of decisions. Mm-hmm. So Zaire was super impressive tonight, super smart. You know, we talked about the offense and how stagnant it was last game and how it was just guys standing around, no one cutting. How many times did Z hit the back door tonight? Pause.
A lot. He banged the back door in, I think.
Yeah, a couple times. Just absolutely pounded the back door all night. And so that helps. Like all of a sudden, you're not just throwing it around the perimeter, right? Now, luckily for the Grizzlies, when they did throw it around the perimeter tonight, Marcus Smart or Desmond Bain hit it from 37 feet. But Zaire, man, listen, 2 games in a row, you love to see it. I'm still not ready to be hurt again, but super impressed by him in the past 2 games. You got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 things real quick. Thank you for joining us, everybody. If you could, do us a favor, man. Hit the like button on this show. It helps us get to the algorithm of love. Is that a thing? I don't know, but it helps us get to the algorithm, and I would appreciate it. Also, if you are a new person watching this, welcome. If you're a Lakers fan, welcome as well. We do have a lot of love from Lakers Lead. It's a big account over in Lakers land, and so he just gave us a retweet, so can't thank him enough. But if you're here, man, ask the questions. We want to talk about the Lakers too, and I'm going to ask the next question to Funaki about that. But if you could, go ahead and subscribe to Bluff City Media. We would appreciate that. If you're over on Twitter, as always, hit the like and the share. But let's talk about the Lakers real quick. Funaki, what's your thoughts on them, and what do you see? I know this game is, sometimes it can be kind of in a small sample size because we're not really watching all of Lakers games, but just seeing them maybe throughout the season. But this game, what's your overall thoughts on the Lakers? You might be on mute.
Pulling a Nate. I'm always on.
You got
mute.
me? You got me? Oh, sorry, man.
There we go. We got you. You're good. You're good.
Look, they got kind of similar things going on to the Grizzlies, and that they're one of the best paint protecting teams, but they're one of the worst perimeter defense teams, right? So if I'm a Lakers fan tonight, their Achilles heel is giving up open 3-point looks, and tonight they gave up open 3-point look after open 3-point look, and the Grizzlies, unusually the worst 3-point shooting percentage team in the league, shot 51% on 45 attempts.
Yeah.
And so this is going to just exacerbate all of that frustration for them, right? Because they just don't have, they've got length, but they don't have the defensive grit to rotate. You know, a lot of this has got to come back to Darvin Ham, right? In the same way that we look at Jenkins and the rotations and the way that we come out of pick and rolls, and we just don't seem to be locked in most games. Lakers seem to be struggling on the defensive side. You know, they shot well tonight. But they just defensively are struggling. I mean, look at the Grizzlies. I was just looking at our numbers. So our true shooting percentage for this game was just on 70%. I think 69.9%.
Wow.
There has only, to give you some idea of how crazy hot we were, there's only been 5 games. This was the 6th game in Grizzlies franchise history where we've shot 70% or better in true shooting. The last time was in April 23 against Houston. So this was completely out of the box, anomalous, but really did highlight all of the challenges that the Lakers have got in terms of defensively matching up and staying in front of guys on the perimeter.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lakers are, they're definitely struggling. But if you look at, I know everybody wants to complain about the Grizzlies and what we really have on the court at times. I know me and Nate in our, I guess in our chat, we're discussing this. But if you look at what the Lakers actually have on the court to play with, it was LeBron and trash most of the time. And you had, listen, Cam Reddish, who's shown good at times. It is Taurean Prince. Christian Wood, like they're just not good NBA players. Austin Reeves plays fine, but he's susceptible just being a bad defender, but he can do so much on the offensive end. And then you have AD. Like what they have is not great pieces surrounding 2 amazing players and a guy in Austin Reeves who can cook and get really hot.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, I actually thought the Lakers played well. I thought it was a well-played game by both teams. I thought the Lakers played well, honestly, until it mattered most in the second half of the fourth quarter. And then the turnover numbers, I don't know what they ended up being at, but I was looking in the middle of the game. I'm like, when the Grizzlies they had 14, and Grizzlies ended up with
19.
So at one point, it was 15-5, Memphis.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out why the Lakers were still up when I thought the Grizzlies were playing better. And they had 10 more shots. Rebounding numbers also credit the Grizzlies. Rebounded really well tonight. Were the same. So I looked, and they had 10 more turnovers. That's what killed the Lakers at the end, is they started turning the ball over, and Memphis tightened up. Yeah. And so I actually thought they played really well. But I do want to bring up one thing, and I want to get both of your opinions on it.
Okay.
So I've seen this a little bit in the comments. Going to bring up David. David, shout out. Glad you found us here at Bluff City. But David's an OG of the show. I didn't feel the same about that game as I did about the other games we felt good with Ja back.
What do you mean?
I'm sure you watched Vernon this week. I heard he basically took the Grizz 901 outline from last game and then turned it into a thesis. So shout out to Chris Vernon. Didn't know you were a fan of the show, but glad you are. We love you too, buddy. But the Grizzlies kept coming back from deficits, right?
Yeah.
They were like coming back from big deficits, and then kind of like stealing games, it felt like, right? Even the Pacers game was kind of like they got up big, but then it was kind of like, you didn't see it for a full 48. I thought tonight we saw the Grizzlies for a full 48. And they got down a little bit early.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was a back and forth game the entire time, right? This was not like it got out of hand completely at any point and one team had to climb a hill. It was back and forth. And then at the end, the Grizzlies just closed.
Yeah.
Now, there's some shots in there that you don't want them taking, right? Like the Marcus Smart deep three, and then Desmond Bane made some killer shots. But the reason I bring this up is I think it feels different from a confidence level too, right? That's a team that came in and they didn't just climb a hill and then steal a game. They closed playing basketball they wanted to play. And that's big. I think that matters because that kind of game can be a huge confidence, but especially you're kind of reeling. Games haven't gone your way on the road. LA, LeBron, AD, Austin Reeves gets the same whistle as prime Michael Jordan. And you go in and you win that game. And you win it confidently, right? Like you beat them at the end. I think that's important. So yes, like they could always go shoot 10% for 3 next game. That always could happen. But just from a confidence level, it felt like a team that for the first time looked like they knew who they were truly for a full game. And that was exciting for me and gave me a lot more hope than I had after the other night.
Yep. Let me hit on that real quick. And I'm going to pull this up from the No Bluffing podcast. If you have a second, man, go check out the No Bluffing podcast. You can find them anywhere you can download podcasts. But Chris does a great job there with his show. But this was what we've talked about in the past is there wasn't a lot of just slow walking up with the ball. And that's what mainly it was Ja. And especially in the first quarter, the entire team feeds off of Ja Morant. I don't know if he knows that. He has to realize that at this point. But whatever he does, whether he's the guy, flexing after a big play, or if he's the guy that gets the ball and he's already moving, and not stagnant, what happens is you're breaking down the defense, which is causing chaos, which is causing easy shots, which is causing, honestly, the lobs up to Z. That's the type of offense this team needs because when they get to a half-court team, they've never been great. Now, I think they have the ability to be great at times. They're going to be bad at times, right? Because they don't have, the best of the best. But they have some really good players in Jaren, who can kind of be a mismatch in a lot of ways. But then Bane, who's just been incredibly great off the dribble, but then, a knockdown shooter. And then Ja is Ja, right? He does a lot of things, if not everything, really well. And so we're talking about a team that does awesome stuff, but they sometimes can't get out of their own way. And one of it is just getting the ball going. Creates a flow. It creates a better way of the offense. But Funaki, I'm going to throw it to you. We're not going to go ahead and show any more love to Nate on that.
Shout out, Sherman. We appreciate you.
But Funaki, your thoughts on that overall?
Yeah, I mean, the transition game, just then that first quarter, the way we started was get the ball to Ja and let him push and make good decisions out of it. And, when Ja gets deep, he's kicking to shooters with confidence. It just changes the game, right? We've been getting those looks all season, but haven't had the confident shooters at the end of it to knock it down. So, yeah, I mean, the transition game is huge. Interesting as well. Like I was looking at the stats just before the game. So the last 5 games, the Grizzlies are dead last in offensive rebounding. So not crashing the boards at all. Yeah. So what we're trying to do, we don't care about the second chance points. What we're trying to do is win the transition game, where we're trying to contain, stop teams from scoring on us in transition, and get out in the break and secure the defensive board so that we're out in transition and scoring the other way. And the Lakers, obviously, that's really important, right? They're a huge transition game. In the first half, they were all transition. In the second half, we really put the brakes on them in transition. So I think it's become a real focus is winning the transition game like it's never been before. We've always been good transition. We haven't cared so much if teams score on us. But, it's definitely become more of a focus. And with Dez playing the way he is, I mean, people take for granted how good Dez is in transition.
Right.
He's like a top 5 shooting guard in the league, points per game in transition. And people just think of him as the shooter. Yep, he can get to the rim and self-create. But in transition, him and Ja are just a formidable duo. And just to wind it back a little bit to the adjustments we made at halftime in the game tonight. AD and Bron both had 4 turnovers. I haven't checked the quarter by breakdown, but it felt like second half those turnovers came from us adjusting to making the Lakers anybody but AD and Bron score, right? So we were doubling. There was definitely 2 turnovers in that fourth quarter. I can remember where one on AD and one on Bron, where we doubled down and they made a bad decision out, and it was a steal and it was a transition bucket. One of those was a 3. So you got to give credit to the coaching staff, right? They made adjustments, they stuck with it, they turned the heck out over the ball in that first half, but actually some pretty good adjustments in the second.
So, Funaki, are you saying that Taylor Jenkins might be a good coach?
Man, I know people give me a hard time, but I'm not a Jenkins out guy. Like I get frustrated. I get frustrated with Jenkins because, he doesn't seem to be adjusting in the ways that look obvious and that the data points to.
Yeah.
So
he's
it seems
a
like
stats guy.
Well, yeah, but he seems like the Titanic, right? It's just so slow to adjust, and there's none of this nimble, right? Okay, the game plan for these guys is this. I'm not out on Jenkins. I'm frustrated that this team isn't doing this more often. What we've seen tonight. Right. There's no way that this should be the exception rather than the rule. And I just don't think the adjustments are there night in, night out. You have a hot shooting light like this and everything looks great.
Right.
But there's still some underlying issues there, right? So this is one of the toughest 3-game road stretches we'll play all season, and one of the most important in terms of the teams we're playing and where we sit in the table. So, yep, we've gone 1 for 1, massive win. If we drop the next 2 games and some of these coaching challenges rear their head, it's going to be, it's going to be tough times to make a plan.
No backpedaling.
But no, I've got to give credit. Great job on the coaching tonight, right? We actually played AD Bron well. We did what we need to do, and it helps when you have 70% true shooting as a team.
Yeah, clip that one. We're gonna clip that one. Let's. The Grizzlies win, man. 127 to 113 for the Lakers. Everybody loves the stats for sure, but some stats we all love is the Grizz #1 player of the game. It is Marcus Smart tonight, and he might not have the most points, but man, his bombs from deep just seemed like they kept us in the game in the first half. And then the second half, dude, it was Jaren's show. It was Bane's show at times. It was such a good game overall. But man, that first part of the first half when he was just knocking them down left and right, we got to give him the player of the game. And I don't think we've given the player of the game a lot. But Marcus Smart, the Grizz #1 player of the game, 29 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and 8 3-pointers. I'm going to come back to you real quick, Funaki. Your thoughts on Marcus Smart for the season, but mainly this game tonight.
You gotta also give credit for the defense, because
yes,
this was a 2-way, both ends of the floor player of the game performance, right? He was on LeBron whenever they were matched up. He was there. If he wasn't on him, he was the guy coming to double on him. Massive size difference, but he just plays tough. And to do that on the offensive end with that confidence while you then got to back up and D up LeBron, it's huge. And there's been 2 games that have stood out this season, right? That Pelicans game where it just took over in overtime in the fourth quarter, both defensively and offensively, and just got into that hustle zone, and tonight's game. And he's just one of those dudes, right, where you roll with the slump in the shooting, and you roll with the, he's always going to play good D, because that he'll have games like this where he completely changes a game. And that's why we got him. That's why they're not going to trade him away. I know I've seen him in all sorts of trade machines. He's here for the season, and it's because he's done this twice in the last 10 games, but in the playoffs, this is what he does, man. He just turns it up a notch. He knows what he needs to do. He feeds off confidence, and he just changes a game.
Yeah, no, he did. And honestly, tonight, he just had 1 steal. No blocks. Like that is the type of game for Marcus Smart. Like, he is the defensive stalwart, right? He is that guy. And tonight it was all about the offense, and he needed it because, this whole week we've heard everybody pretty much just kind of piling on Marcus Smart. And so he needed that for sure. And a good game out of him. Maybe it was the hand really in the end that was bothering him. Those splinters out from the blender down in New Orleans can be tough, man. But the Grizz #1 player of the game, 29 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and 8 3-pointers. It's a good game overall. Nate, I'd ask your thoughts, but I want to go ahead. We're halfway through the show. I want to go ahead and get into our second segment. And you know what's coming up. is we have Grizz trivia. We're going to take a short break, but after we get out, we're going to hand this over to Funaki. We're going to let him do the Grizz trivia. And I promise you, the first person who answers in the chat gets $50. So just, stay with us for a second. We have a brand new commercial. You might like this one. It's somebody
Not just the level of individual talent that he plays, but it's also the level of his mind. We haven't gotten cross-court open shot this year. Right. We haven't seen that pass a lot. Number one, you got to respect him going to the basket. There's a roller. I got to watch the roller. He has the mind to be able to say, I see all of that, but now I see this guy over here. I'm going to get him this open shot. How shifty he is to always be going forward. It's usually side to side.
Yeah.
His dribble moves are side to side, but going forward.
Right.
Which is very hard to defend. I just want to get you, as many times can I get you to do this? But for him, it's not here. It is here, which is what are his moves to get down the floor. It's awkward for a defender to try to catch a cadence. You dribble. So now what I do is when you go put that ball down, I'm going for it. But with him, it's hard for my cadence. But what's my cadence for you? I don't know what it is.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, shout out to Anthony Sane. This is not Nate trivia. It's Grizz trivia.
Big guy knows, though. I'm batting like 60%. I've been doing good at Grizz trivia.
He is doing well. But
make sure we give Big guy a shout out.
Shout out to Brevin Knight for coming on Anthony Sane Show, but also then Doc Holliday today. And so, Sane is knocking it out with these interviews. If you haven't heard it, go listen to Doc Holliday. Not right now. You got to enjoy this, but also you got to try to get some answers. We got to have one answer. It's going to come from Funaki. Before we get there, do us a favor, hit the subscribe button on Bluff City YouTube. But then also, if you have this, hit the like button. It's free. Close the chat. Go down, push the button, open the chat back up. You won't miss out. It's going to take him a second to get this question out. But go ahead, Funaki. This is all on you. First person who comes and answers it in the chat is the winner, Funaki.
All right, here we go. So, Grizzlies heading into tonight's game were leading the league in blocks at the rim per 100 possessions. Okay, 3.56. So the best rim blockers in the league. Okay, so the question is, it's not the first time that a Grizzlies team has been good at this. So which Grizzlies team, so you've got to name the season, holds the franchise record for most blocks per 100 possessions in a season with 4.77 compared to 3.56 this season, which is actually the fifth best of all NBA team seasons. So this data goes back to like 2000, 2001. So you've got to give me the season, the Grizzlies team that was fifth, or actually is number one in franchise history and fifth overall in that time.
All right, we have an answer right now. We have 0506. I see a 2014. All right, anybody else got anything? I don't want to give it away just to it. 2016. I don't even remember. Like, was that Jaren's first year?
I don't have to answer.
See, the reason I go with this is because this is not something you can Google, right? This is something deep in the advanced stats archive. And so this relies on someone having some knowledge of Grizz franchise history. What squad was dominant at the rim?
AKA not me.
Everybody's answering. And listen, I haven't seen it yet. I know which one it is. I do believe. But I'm waiting to see it.
Yeah, 2011, 12.
Got to go deep into the archive.
Whoever wins it, I like your strategy. Just let a lot of things get eliminated between now and 2000, and then hop in there.
2022. Nope. That's a good one though. Battier error. Nope.
Is it time for a clue?
No. Let's just keep going.
Okay.
I like these people just.
If I was guessing, I'd ask for a clue.
All right. Here's a clue. 4 of the starting 5 in that season have gone on to win NBA championship with other teams.
Whoa. That is a great clue.
I truly don't know what it is, but then my first mind said is Battier. I don't remember Battier won before or after Memphis, but I think he won after Memphis with the Heat.
So the
Patio.
So this team is obviously they were good at rim protection. That's what you're saying, correct?
Yeah, so they might have had a Gasol brother in there, maybe.
Oh. So close. Y'all are getting very close. Parrish with the closest. I'll just give that one away.
Patio.
Hold on. Which one is it? All right, Funaki. Parrish has answered. Is this right or wrong?
Is what? I can't see it.
You can't see. Parrish says 2004.
Yeah, 2003, 2004 season. Correct.
All right, so we're gonna give him that. So we'll give it to you, Parrish. We'll give
He's also
you
the first one to guess 2003, so he earned it.
Yeah. And that's what I was. That's what I was stuck on is either 03 or 04. I'm like, which one do we do? So Parrish, if you would just go there and shoot me your Venmo over at Grizz 91 Podcast, dude, and I will send you the 50 bones for getting that one right. Listen, that was tough one. Well done, Funaki, for that one.
Yeah.
2003, 2004. What was special about that team, Funaki?
Oh, I don't know. I've only been involved with the Grizz for like 2 years. No. Like what we've got at the moment is two bigs that are solid defensively, right? And Bismack and Jaren.
Right.
And when you've got Pogasol and Stromble Swift, who I know nothing about, but apparently was a very good
James Posey, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so that's really what it was. Is Stromble Swift was a maniac, and that's really what he was. A guy who was a dunker, shot blocker, just kind of free flowing. But Powell was very good as well. I think that was Powell's second year, 01-02. Nope, so third year in the league. And so I believe they just got James Posey, who's playing well, and that was kind of starting their trajectory of starting to get better. And so shout out to you, man, for bringing it back to 03-04. Man, I love it. And you weren't even around back then being a Grizzlies fan. And so I didn't even think about that when I asked that question to you. So sorry to put you on the spot, but yeah, what an awesome team that is.
I'm really glad that Funaki doesn't normally ask these questions. I'm glad you're never normally ask. I was like, I got no clue. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. So, shout out to you, Parrish. If you would just go ahead and send me over your Venmo information, and I'll shoot you the 50 bones. But let's go back to you, Funaki. That was great. But I want to ask more about Steven Adams. Everybody has asked about Steven Adams, and let me open the floodgates. If you have a question right now for Funaki, we're going to just pretty much try to drill in with some questions because we won't have him here for forever, right? So if you have any questions, go ahead and send them. But where is Steven Adams right now? Because he's not with the team. So where exactly is he? Do you know?
I don't know. The only clues we've got is he was posting as his Insta, where he's posted pictures of his dog at Christmas. So I think he's just like keeping it local. I think he's somewhere close to the team. I don't even know where he had his surgery. So I think he's just in hunker down recovery mode. And he'll emerge like BC did. BC was out for a couple of months, slowly made his way back when it became more formal in terms of rehab rather than recovery. So I'm pretty sure we'll see him pop up in the coming, weeks, maybe next month or two. Definitely by the end of the season, he'll be back, with an update on progress and seeing how he's going.
I do believe that his surgery happened here in Memphis. I don't think.
Did it? I don't know that.
I think it happened in Memphis. I wouldn't say I'm certain. I wouldn't put like, hey, this is 100%. I'm almost certain because I do believe that there were some stuff surrounding when all that was going on, that he was visiting certain doctors here. And then I think we saw a picture at one point where he was doing the surgery. And I think it looked like it was in one of the hospitals here in Memphis, but I'm not positive, but I thought it was here. So I wasn't sure if he was like David Vickers is asking, like, I wonder if he's rehabbing here or in New Zealand. Like, I wonder which one it is, because
Nah,
we've
he's not-
been given nothing.
Yeah, I don't think he's back here. He may come back at some time, but he's not here now, I don't think.
Yeah. All right. So what's your thoughts on the injury overall? Because there's been a lot that's surrounding what happened, right? So he obviously gets hurt, right? And that's the issue. And then we go through the off season and he's going to not do surgery, right? And he can heal, feel like everything's going good. And he comes back for the preseason, plays in that one game and looks good. And then we never see him again. So any ideas on what happened? And, if you had to just kind of have a thought process or any knowledge to that situation?
No, look, I don't think there's been any smoke and mirrors, man. I think it's all pretty straight up. I think the advice from everyone was actually most people recover non-surgically from this. Give it some time, do your strength training, rehab it hard, which he did. And most people come back. And so that's what he did. He tried to come back in preseason and the stability wasn't there, right? It didn't actually restrict his movement too much, right? We saw him going pretty good in preseason. He wasn't limping. There was no restriction of movement. He was out there doing his thing, but it just didn't have the stability it needed. So it went from, okay, you're an outlier in terms of what the data says normally happens on this trajectory of healing from his injury. So you're going to need the surgery, and I think it's as simple as that.
Wow.
But I think on the positive side, it's just, when you've got the best surgeons in the world, it's a procedure that when you're not relying on your first step and needing to be 100% athletic to come back and be effective, which Steven Adams isn't. Let's say he drops 10% of his athleticism, worst case scenario. Is he still going to be one of the best rebounders in the league? Yes. Is he still able to run an offense from the high post? Absolutely. He's still a 7-foot beast that can play defense on, Jokic or whoever you need him to play defense against, Giannis. So the things that make him so valuable to the Grizzlies are things that are going to be there, whether he has the most perfect recovery or a slightly less than perfect recovery. Sure, there's a version of his recovery where, as a 7-footer, it's niggly and it stays with him, but I think that's unlikely, right? He's 30. He's not 36, 37.
Yeah, so there was some, I guess, discussions around where I think the team wanted him to have the surgery and he opted to not. He wanted to heal naturally by just strengthening it up.
Yeah.
And I think
we don't know that, though, do we? We don't know that the
That's
team
the
wanted him to have surgery, right?
Correct.
I think there's things that creep into the narrative here that say, at no point did the team on the record as saying we wanted him to have surgery. They've always said it's a joint decision between, led by Steve-O and the team and obviously the experts. And they have definitely said that, the usual course of action for that injury is to play it out and see if it heals non-surgically.
Right.
So, I think we just need to be careful about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what the discussion's been about, that the team wanted him to have it and he didn't want to have it. Honestly, we don't know. Like, we're not behind the closed doors. And so I do want to bring that up because that's been the discussion. Listen, if it happened that way, it happened that way. If it was my body personally, I would have probably done the exact same thing Steve-O did as, you don't have the surgery because it's not something that you have to have, right? And you possibly have a really good chance because anytime you go under the knife, you only age yourself in a weird way, because it's just surgery. Surgery is tough. Not all are not all tough, but some are tougher than others. And it's just anytime you're getting cut on, it's never good. But listen, that's enough about that. I have some questions I want to ask. I know Nate might have some later. I have just simple questions. You talked about it already and you alluded to it. I think Steve-O is one of the biggest pieces, if not the biggest piece missing from this team. You're saying that when he does come back, you expect him to be just as good, if not, possibly better, just from having some time off, clearing your head, clearing your mental space. What's your thoughts on the Grizzlies? Should they bring in a big and possibly move off of Steve-O? I know that's not going to be what you would say, but just kind of looking from the outside in and saying what you think should actually happen for this team for the future.
Yeah, I mean, there's a short-term view and a long-term view on that, right?
Right.
Should they bring in a 7-footer, a dominant center, a rebounding center, if they want to go as deep as possible and make the most of the season? Yes, they should. Would they win more games? Yes. But what's the cost of doing that in the short term? You're going to have to trade away some assets. You're probably going to have to take on a contract of way more than 12 million of Steve-O's equivalent salary. There's just not that many dudes out there that you can bring in that will guarantee you that impact on the kind of contract range that Steven Adams is at. So yes, absolutely. If I put my Grizz fan hat on rather than my Steven Adams Stan hat, I get that that's a conversation, right?
Yeah.
But then within 2 weeks, we'll know whether there's a reasonable chance of this team, probably by the trade deadline, we'll know if there's a reasonable chance of this team even making the play-ins. Because as high as we are about this game tonight, it might be a different story in 5 games. We just don't know. And we're not going to have a center within the next 5 games, right?
Right.
So I think you play it out and then you make your call then. But I think this front office time and time again has shown that they take a longer term view on things, right? They know that our big 3 are young still, right? They've got probably another 1 or 2, 3 seasons before all the data shows that we're in championship winning territory. And if you've got the option of retaining a $12 million center that fits perfectly with your key pieces, that at 32 even is still going to be close enough to his prime to be working well with that squad and to take you deep into the playoffs and be part of that championship run, why do you want to trade off him for an unknown? It's about managing risk, right? And I just see that as way more risk to the success of this franchise to trade away and hope that somebody else works than to wait it out for literally half a season now, and a season that's already off the rails mostly. Mm-hmm. And then, you've got BC back, you've got Steve-O back next season, you've got all the pieces, you've got a big 3 that is now off the charts in terms of confidence and skill set. I just think that's what you do. You play it out.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about the adding of Bismack Biyombo? I know there was the discussion early on that we're going to become the was it Bismack stats or I don't know, whatever. That was short lived, and then it came into all right. You're going to post a lot about Vince Williams. Let me ask you about Vince Williams. What's your thoughts been on him? Because the guy has been absolutely electric defensively. And he has been a great rebounder. All the things that you love, especially all the little things, the stat stuffer. Thoughts on just overall with Vince Williams?
You got to love him, right? He's doesn't try and do too much. A low usage guy. He dropped off with his shooting the last few games, but defensively he grades up as good as any young wing in the league, and that's what you're looking for, right? You draft guys. You try and pick these defensive studs, and he's shown in a few games that he is one of those, right? So he's got trade value, he's got rotation minute value, and you've got to embrace that, right? You can go through 20 rookies and not find that, so you've got to embrace it. I was actually looking up the other day because I was like, oh, this team's terrible at offensive rebounding. And I was looking at Steve-O's, offensive rebound percentage when he was on the floor, and it was like 32%.
Yeah.
Vince Williams Jr., when he's on the floor, the Grizzlies' offensive rebound percentage is 29%. So he's impacting the team at a rebound, particularly on the offensive boards, more than any other player. He's one of those guys who has the team impact stats beside, regardless of what stats he's generating himself. So he's additive to, the good stuff we need as a team. And that's all on top of the defensive matchup stuff. How many guys do you see in their first real season of getting burned in the NBA, matching up on Luka, matching up on whoever they throw at him, Donovan, and actually doing as good a job as the most experienced wings, elite defensive wings in the league? You've got to give that more burn. You've got to invest in it. You've got to find a way to keep him on the squad. But interestingly, he's only got 17 more games. You said these last 2 games out with his injury. He's only got 17 more games until you have to convert him into a full contract and give him a place on the squad, because his 2-way runs out pretty quick with his 50-game cap.
Yeah, that 50-game cap. So, and that's what people didn't. People understand. Like, it's when they're active. And unless I'm completely just an idiot, which, listen, a lot of people tell me I am, but I will say that, 13 and 23, they're getting closer to that 50 number, and he doesn't have to be playing. So some of those games early on when he maybe didn't play, he was still active. And because he was active, that was taking one of those 50 away. And so I don't know what they're going to do with that. What's your thoughts on the trade deadline, the trading for this team? Because honestly, like, what my stance has been is you have to eventually make some moves to consolidate. But I would not make a move other than a short-term move that doesn't cost you anything to do with your future. Where are your thoughts on this season, but the future of any kind of moves that they might make at all?
Yeah, I agree. There isn't, wing depth. After a game like tonight, you kind of look at it and you go, oh yeah, guys can step up. But you look over the course of a season, and that wing depth offensively is really important, right? We need knockdown shooters. We are the worst 3-point shooting team in the league, and we get a lot of open looks, and you need knockdown shooters that are consistent. So that 3-and-D guy is still there, right? You need someone. I don't think Vince is going to consistently knock down the 3. He was good in college. He shot well in G Leagues, but you need that depth. So I think if there's a way of bringing in more wing depth with offensive talent that doesn't cost you any of your key pieces or any of your long-term certainty, then you've got to look at it.
Yes, listen, there's so much surrounding this team that there's so many questions that are going to go unanswered for a while, especially since Bismack Biyombo cannot be traded and dealt until February the 1st. Like, that's huge because I think he's fine for what he is, and that is a backup big. If the Grizzlies want to be good this year, they're going to have to go get somebody to put in that center position for just this season. And really, you can have a rental of Bismack and somebody else for just this season if you wanted to. The great thing about this is they don't have to show their hand until February 1st. So they have the entire month of January, and then literally you are in the trade deadline season. And so then you might be able to make a trade, make some things happen. So it actually holds them to kind of just not showing their hand so quickly. But
the other thing that the front office will have a clearer view on is how realistic is it that BC gets minutes in that final third of or probably final quarter of the season, right? There's obviously talk of him coming back around All-Star, which is real soon. So, if they think they can get minutes out of him at the 4 and play those Jaren and BC lineups, that fills a gap. Doesn't give you a 7-footer, right, but it gives you more flexibility at the 4-5 that we desperately need. More versatility at the 4-5. You can package up, your Tillmans and your whatever, but I still don't think you're going to have to chuck in a BC or a Steve-O's salary,
right,
to be able to get any kind of trade there that moves the needle. And I come back to that point. Do you really want to be moving off BC and Steve-O given what's ahead next season when you know how well they fit?
Yeah.
To me, that's a gamble too far.
Yeah, and the other thing is you're trading them probably at their lowest trade value point because both are coming off of injuries. Like, you're not trading them when they are tippy top of their game and they're healthy as a horse. Like, they're great. And then, that doesn't make sense to me unless you're just, hey, we just got a guy like Mikal Bridges. Speaking of that, is there anybody out there that you're like, hey, if that guy is out there for this Grizzlies team, we should add him if possible, right? Everybody's a pipe dream. I know that is, anybody could come up, but I'm just saying, like, hey, this is the type of player, because we've asked this question before. This is the type of player that this team really, would just finally get over the hump and then just climb that mountain and skyrocket, whether it's this year, next year, and going forward? Is there a guy that you're seeing out there in the league that, hey, they would just mesh so perfectly?
Not, look, I mean, I'm sorry to be boring, but there's no one, because you have to be realistic with that, right?
Yeah.
And there's just so few options where you can retain your big three, you can keep your key pieces. The issue we've got is we don't have rookie contracts, right?
Right.
So, salary cap is a massive. I see people talking about, paying people $20 million at the center position. That's just not viable long term when you're paying your big three all close to max contracts. You've got Marcus Smart on close to $20 million a year. We just don't have the headspace to be able to going out there and adding a fourth or fifth $20 million, $25, $30 million a year player. It just doesn't. It doesn't work numbers wise. So, that's why I don't spend too much time looking at those pieces, because it's all got to work at the other end as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Nate, you got anything? I know you've been quiet, man. You got anything?
I've been respectful because it's not you talking.
True.
Man, the main thing I have was, well, there's two things as far as questions go. None of them related to what we just talked about.
That's okay.
Mostly. But Funaki, me and Daniel last show had a bit of a debate where I may or may not have called Daniel something along the lines of a bumbling moron, where he was debating having someone like a Clint Capella come in for Memphis, who's also on a decent contract, right? But then keeping Steve-O and having him come in as like a bench guy. I just don't see a world where Steven Adams is a bench center for this team, especially. Is that something you think is genuinely viable? Honestly, I mean, despite the fact Daniel's generally an idiot, do you think that's something that could possibly work?
Oh, look, so in terms of a general principle, having two centers that are 7-footers that could both start, I love that, right? Look at the Knicks. You lose Mitch, and then you've got iHeart coming off the bench, who's as good as your next starter, right? So this season is fine because they're still going to compete. They're still going to go good because they had two legit centers. So that the idea of actually having a contest about who's your starter and who's not as a center, I like that, and I think it's a good recipe for a deep run. But I think if you look at the two that you talked about there, right? Clint Capella, Steven Adams, same age, similar kind of games. Yep, Clint's more of a lob threat. Steve-O's more of a facilitating passer. But actually, Clint Capella's game has declined more in his last, 80 games, like 82 games, season equivalent, than Steven Adams. Steven Adams was playing the best ball of his whole career in the 2 months before he got injured. Mm-hmm. 20, back-to-back 20 rebound games, assists up the wazoo. So his game, if you I know it sounds silly, you can't set aside his injury, but his game was at his peak because it was evolving. Clint Capella's game isn't evolving, right? I can see a world where Steve-O comes back from his injury and he's confident knocking down the three ball. He's a passing big. He's, all of that stuff matures well with age. Clint Capella, less so, right? His lob threat diminishes as his athleticism declines. He's never been a great passer. He'll still set good picks. So I think actually he's your bench guy. And yeah, I'm biased, but I think if you look at it objectively and look at how do these guys age, I think Steve-O's game is going to mature better.
I like that. And I think, honestly, the one thing me and Daniel both agreed on, we would love for that to be the situation for Memphis, right? We would love to have both guys on the team. I just had a hard time seeing it very viable, but I don't think either one of us in our general stupidity thought that about Capella coming off the bench instead. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, but I think so your options are, do you consolidate? Do you flick your Tillman and your BC and go after package it up with somebody else and get a $15 million salary in there? as your center options to sit alongside Steve-O, and that might be somebody that you can roll with for the rest of the season that would actually move the dial. So if you're trading for a legit 7-footer, I'd say yes if you don't include Steve-O in the package, right? Because then it gives you that option and sets you up well for next season.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, I got another question. I know you have another one, Nate, that you want to go ahead and ask?
We can wrap up with it.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're Funaki, I'm going to get you out of here in a second. I have like 2 more questions I want to get to, but we're going to let you get out of here. One, it's already been an hour, so you spent way more time than I ever expected you was hang out with us. So thank you. First of all,
man, this is good.
But I want to go ahead. I'll get you out of here that way. We'll do a quick recap, a preview of the Sun. So there's not much to talk about, honestly, after that. Just getting into that game. But I want to ask you 2 things. The first one is you've seen OKC. I know that you were obviously a big Steven Adams fan for a long time, but now that you're seeing SGA and Chet, out there in OKC, I know you still have your side eye, just kind of still looking at them a little bit. Thoughts on OKC, because I think that's important, especially there's probably a lot of OKC fans that still follow you because of Steven Adams. What's your thoughts on OKC?
I mean, they've got those Grizz 2021, 22 vibes going on, don't they? Right, where they're ahead of their own timeline, and they're scary, right? There hasn't been a lot. They're overachieving for the season so far. I think everyone thought they'd be above 500, but to be where they are was definitely on the upside of projections. But they've done a great job of getting the balance of modern day ball, right? They've got all the pressure was to put Chet into the 4 and go and find a big bruiser center like a Steven Adams to play alongside him, because everyone was saying he'd get beaten down by Giannis and Jokic and whatever, but they've just embraced that natural game of Chet, which is to be a roaming, shot adjusting, highly efficient offensive weapon, which is just sits perfectly alongside SGA. And, so for them to be gelling like they are year one of having Williams alongside them and their big 3, their young big 3 going like they are, it's they're going to have a whole decade of going deep into the playoffs, and it'll be interesting to see how it translates to the playoffs, right? I think it's not like they're gimmicky. It's not like they're a one-trick pony. They are diverse in the way they beat teams, which usually translates well into the playoffs. So they're going to have probably a lower seed to come up against in rounds 1 and 2, and I'd be surprised if they weren't in the running for a conference semifinal at least.
Yeah, as Kai, I think Kai might be an OKC fan, but he's given comps for kind of Dort, Smart, Ja, SGA, Chet, Jaren, kind of built similarly, right? And so you have a lot of what they have over there for the Grizzlies. But if you look at the Grizzlies, like you were saying, 21-22, you had Grizzlies, and then 22-23, then you had the Kings. And now this year, this is the new hot up and coming team who honestly, between the Grizzlies, the Kings, and the Thunder, they might be around for, let's just say, 5 to 8 years. Looking at how they're built, they're not going to be, they're going to be cost effective, but the way that they built them, they all play well with each other. Man, I just think that this league has a bright future, and unfortunately, they're all in the West, and that sucks.
Well, how many picks do the Thunder still have? It's crazy, right? Like, they've still got 7 first rounders in the next whatever.
Oh, they don't use their first rounders, so they're just holding them.
Just madness how good they're going to be. They get one or 2 more pieces, bench pieces, and it's going to be, getting out of the West is tough.
It is. All right. So 1, thank you for hanging out with us. But 2, you haven't been around as much. The first question is, have you missed it being as active as you normally are? Because you are active, but you're not nearly as active as you used to be. Do you miss it?
Of course I miss, the whole reason I started this whole thing is because I'm a massive Steven Adams fan, right? So that was always the raison d'etre. But to be honest, I've really enjoyed just being able to dig into other stuff. So, last season I was able to kind of get on board the Jaren for DPO wide train and throw some stats around that. This season I've just been able to, like I said before, like embrace the dudes that don't usually get celebrated, like your Vinces and your whoever's, and just try and bring to the surface some of those advanced stat stuff that kind of just help us appreciate their game and Grizzlies game in a bit more detail. And then when you're watching games, you can kind of see those things play out. So I've loved being able to do that, and makes me think, when Steve-O comes back, it's going to be quite tough to go back just to Steven Adams stats, right? Because I think I basically did 18 months of just nothing but Steven Adams stats.
Yeah.
So, I might just keep embracing it and just stick with the wider Grizz stuff and obviously keep Steve-O front and center.
Yeah. No, I think we would all love that, because anytime that you, but also I know Sean Coleman does a really good job. You two have just, a wealth of knowledge, but it's just giving us, a lot of content. But I think Grizzlies Twitter has missed you for sure, being as active. I see you're coming more and getting more and more active. So I want to say thank you. But I think you've seen the love from a lot of the fan base, because you did kind of go a little silence, especially early in the season. You started coming back. And so I think you're starting to see, how much everybody really does appreciate you, just being in the universe, of Twitter, right? I think you're really hopefully seeing that, because I think everybody feels the same way. This show obviously is probably gonna be big because of people just who follow you, and so I think it's gonna be fun for you. But also, I think you're making a big imprint. Just, dude, you're so far away, but because we all feel so close, I think you're making a big imprint over here, especially in Grizzlies Nation for sure.
Thanks, guys. And thanks for not ditching me. I know I'm not quite as novel and interesting when I'm not, the Steven Adams guy. So, sticking with me, it's like the Grizzlies, like this right out the season, and then have me back more regularly when Steve-O's back.
Yeah. Well, as Big Die says, we need more Funaki. All right. So we're about to do a quick break, and then we're going to have a preview. I'm sorry. We're going to preview the Suns game. And so that's going to be very, very fast. But we want to make sure we get into that. But before then, let's go ahead and take about a minute break, and we'll be right back.
I'm just big on being able to vocalize what someone's role is. I always thought my best coaches were the people that let me know exactly what you expect from me. Now, I might not like it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. But if you come to me man to man and say, this is how we think we're gonna play you, bang, 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 and hopefully everybody understand. I'm not saying that this has not been done with this team. I'm just saying from my experience, we all have egos when we get to this game. Right. All of us, to the last person on the bench, you got an ego, but all of us can't be the man. Yeah. You got to be able to say, okay, he's the man, but what do I do and what can I do to help us be good? And if it's vocalized to you, then you know exactly and if I'm out there doing it and now I'm not getting the result from you, now we got to sit down and have another conversation. But as long as it is told to you, this is what we expect from you, this is how we want you to play, then I feel like, again, keeping this logo. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, Nate and I are back. We're going to let Funaki get out of here. Man, dude, listen, he's the best. He always is the best. And so it was kind of a surprise today when he hit us up in our chat and said, can I come on tonight?
Yeah, I know. I was pumped. I was like, man, I don't have to just listen to Daniel be an idiot for an hour. No, seriously, he did message us today and wanted to come on. And man, I've missed that guy. He's just awesome. And he's so much more calm than me and so much smarter than you. And so it's such a good presence. Big Die hit the nail on the head. I know it's a spell check thing, but he is a settling presence for us. So it's good to have him back on, man. Missed him. Excited he's getting engaged. And listen, Steve-O or no Steve-O, eventually there will be a day, whether it's retirement, trade, whatever it may be, Steve-O's not on this team. I hope Funaki stays with us, man, because he's just the bomb.
Yeah, he is the bomb. Listen, that's the thing that sucks is like if for some reason Steve-O does get traded or sent somewhere else, what do we do? Like, do we lose him out of Grizz Twitter?
We won't let that happen.
We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna make up a new thing where it'd be like I don't know, Vince Williams stats, and then
You and I personally will be held responsible for that. I hold us responsible to making sure that doesn't happen.
We'll keep him somehow. All right, let's get to the real quick Suns preview. This is not going to be more in depth. So if you're listening for something more in depth, this is not at all right now. We are it's almost 1:00 in the morning locally. But the Grizzlies now are 12-23. They're going up against the Phoenix Suns, who are 19-16. First thoughts about the Suns?
Confusing team. Just confusing because you've got two dudes who are going to end up going down as some of the best scorers to play in the game. Like, I know Devin Booker doesn't have the oomph behind the name of Kevin Durant, but if you watched the first game they played this year, I mean, when he gets going, man, it's like there's not much you can do, right? He has that mid-range fadeaway game that it's like you can't guard it, right? It's like it honestly, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but I know he was super tight with Kobe. It reminds you so much of Kobe when he gets going like that, right? Yeah. And listen, you don't have to like Devin Booker to love watching the way he scores. And I don't like Devin Booker, but God, I love the way he scores, man. So you got that. You got Kevin Durant, who's obviously Kevin Durant. You've got Bradley Beal, who is it's a third option, like an incredible third option. At the same time, I've never, even since they made the trade for Bradley Beal, I've never felt like they were just this unbeatable threat in the West.
Yeah.
You know, not once have I thought, hey, that team's gonna usurp Denver as the best team in the West. That team is going to be, honestly, as the season started, I didn't think they'd be much better than LA. And I guess record-wise, they're not that far ahead, right? The Lakers, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't see it all working together. Now, as the Grizzlies go, you've got, like I said, they can score with the best of them. You let them get going, they can cook you. At the same time, you see that team that came out tonight, even without the shooting from Marcus Smart, which Marcus Smart has shot so terrible all year from three. And he shot unbelievable from three. Tonight, he's neither one of those players. He's somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah.
The only thing I do like that Funaki hit on this, of him being a player of the game, is the defense. Every night, that defense is there. You saw him playing against LeBron tonight. You have that, and there's somewhere in between on three from Marcus. Solid player, great next to your guys. You get the shooting from Desmond Bane you got in the second half. You're going to get a bigger Ja Morant game. That's going to happen.
Oh, I hope.
I believe that will happen. That's a matchup that you should be more than happy with the way that matchup played out tonight, because that's size without Steve-O, not built for Ja. You want him to hit some perimeter shots, have some moments, and other than that, facilitate, which is basically what he did tonight. Against Nurkic, I'm not nearly as worried about that. Nurkic is a really good player who I despise. I can't stand Yusuf Nurkic. I hate watching him play. It's the opposite of Devin Booker. I hate the way he plays basketball. He whines. He's never committed a foul in his life. He's also a behemoth of a human being who is mean as a snake and also kind of dirty. So can't stand him. Great basketball player.
Yeah.
He's an underrated basketball player, in my opinion. He ain't stopping Ja Morant.
No.
That ain't what he's good at. So it's one of those games where you see the Memphis team that came out tonight, they could beat the Suns by 20 points. At the same time, that Suns team gets cooking, they could beat the Grizzlies by 20 points. I really don't know how it's going to go. But hopefully I see D'Angelo's down there. We get Vince back. That would be fantastic. I mean, if he's matching up against guys like Luka, that'd be great to have him against a Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. I really don't know the way it's going to go. I think it's one of those games that as long as your stars play like stars, and I think Jaren having a game like he just had against AD can be big to that, confidence-wise. It's going to come down to whose role players perform.
Yeah, that is
And
true.
that's a scary prospect for Memphis
Right.
because your role players haven't been great. The good news is the Suns role players, they ain't much to call home about either. So
Well, yeah, let's hit on that real quick. So, what I'm looking at here right now is a lot of the players that are playing on their team. They're okay. Tonight they did beat the Heat at home, so that's a good win for them. But also, it was a big game out of Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen's been a deep threat for them. He's played very well for them at times. He's kind of been their hit or miss option, whether he's hot or cold. He really can be an X factor in this. But one other guy that we haven't seen in a long time is Bradley Beal. I think Bradley Beal has played like up to 4 or 5 games, and at that point, Bradley Beal has now scored 20-plus games in the last 4. So that's big for them. Like, he's played very well. They're playing much better now. But also something that we saw tonight is Kevin Durant was out with a hamstring. And so with KD out, who knows what a hamstring, how much they want to push that. If this is a schedule where they do have now the Grizzlies Sunday, and then they have a turnaround Monday against the Clippers. And then you go Lakers, and then the Trailblazers for them, and then Kings, Pelicans. Their schedule is like, we're one of the easier teams, right, on that schedule other than the Pelicans, and they have a back-to-back. So what do you do with KD? But also, what do you do with Bradley Beal? Do they play Bradley Beal on a back-to-back? There's a lot of questions on that too, and just looking at their schedule.
my main question is, do you think Bradley Beal and Jaren get into a flexing contest like Bradley Beal and Bam got into tonight? And if so, who wins? That's what I love about sports. Is when dudes are just being stupid.
Yeah.
Dudes being dudes.
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
on the court. It honestly, both teams are gonna really want this win. Like, the Grizz have some momentum. They just had a stretch of games that just were ugly. And it all culminated in that Raptors loss. That Raptors loss should have never happened for a million different reasons, right? And then you bounce back in LA, in the arena formerly known as Staples Center.
Crypto.
No.
Oh.
It's just like the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yeah.
It is the arena formerly known as Staples Center.
Isn't it going back to that?
I hope so, because I'm never going to call it the other one.
I think it is.
Gross. Better be a Staples bro than a crypto bro. You want to keep that momentum going, right? And like I said, the way they won this game tonight, I thought was different than the way they've won the other games in Schossenbeck. I thought you had a full game effort with a team that found a way to really gel. You want to keep that going. So both teams have a lot of reasons to come into this firing. Suns obviously have the game at home, so that's an advantage. But same thing we're just talking about, that team doesn't mesh super well.
Yeah.
I think the Grizz can come in. You get them off kilter from the get-go. You keep coming at them, and you just don't stop. Punch, punch, punch. Please, no funky rotations.
Yeah.
You have a chance to really win and then go into a Mavs game hot. And then if Luka's not playing, then that's anybody's game, right? So I'm very interested to see it. Tonight gave me a lot of hope after, honestly, the Raptors game was the first time this year I was like, I don't see this team making the playoffs, right? So maybe it's false hope. Maybe I'm going to get hurt again, but we'll find out soon enough.
The Grizzlies now obviously have the Suns on Sunday, and then you have the Mavs away again, the second game of this road trip Tuesday. And so you're talking about back-to-back games, very good games. And the fact that I said 1 and 3 or 1 and 2, one out of the 3 as wins on this road trip would be fine. They've already got that. So now it's literally, can you steal one more? Because then you're going to come back home and you have the Clippers, which is going to be a tough game, right? And then you get the Knicks, Warriors, T-Wolves. Like, these games, they're piling up and they're not getting much easier. This is a tough stretch, but as you've seen, and I said last time, sometimes little things can actually make you come together. That tonight by Coach Jenkins, when he kind of jumped up and was literally going to run the court when Jaren was getting punched in the face or hit in the face by LeBron. That's a key moment that might help this team. It might not have helped them during the game, because they honestly, I think the Lakers, went for 6 points straight after that. But in the locker room, it can be big. But also, you're on the road together. You're spending more time together at the moment. These are things that can actually help you. And that really a lot of people, unless you've been on the road with your boys, like on away games for a long road trip, you don't understand, the camaraderie that really comes in and the stupid goofiness that bonds you together. And so I'm hoping that's really what's the start, because Ja getting more with the pace of the offense has helped. Them getting a little bit of their swagger back and becoming more of that team that's free flowing is really going to help them. And so I'm excited about all of it, man. It's I think that wins make you stupid and they make you feel really great, and losses make you stupid and you feel really bad. So there's got to be a middle. I'm hoping we even out, but right now we're stuck in the middle because every win seems awesome and every loss seems the worst. It's terrible.
Well, man, the Raptors loss was that was honestly for me the low point of the season. I was like, you had so many ways you could have won that game, and you found a way to blow all of them.
Yeah.
Coaching, decision-making from players, just general player execution. They sucked. They blew every part of that. Ja had 28, 9, and 8. We had a Zaire game, and you still lost. It was just brutal. And then to come back and bounce back with that kind of effort is
big,
huge, right? So it gives me hope for a season that honestly I was as low as I've been. So
a lot of people,
we'll see.
Yeah. All right, that's all we got, man. This Suns game will be fun as this game was tonight. I hope it's even more fun, but we'll definitely be back here at a earlier time, but it will be Sunday night. Football is coming, but I think that will be a fun game because I'm not sure what the schedule is for the NFL, but I don't think they have a night game. If they do, it's only one, and I don't know which one it could be. But the Grizzlies playing on a Sunday night is awesome. Because as the football season winds down, it's the last week of the season. Who is it?
It's a big one. It's Bills Dolphins for the AFC East. That's actually a pretty big game. Who cares? Grizz forever.
Yeah, that is a big game. So we'll probably be hitting on that as well during this show.
I'll have it on.
But for sure, it will be a good time. We're gonna have we're gonna be back, baby, back. So this has been fun, man. I can't thank y'all enough for hanging out with us. We have some cool things coming as I've kind of been alluding to. They've been slower to come than I thought. I thought this stuff would kind of be happening a little bit faster, but they are not. Listen, we're trying to sign contracts, okay? Hey. Contracts take time, and so things are happening. You don't know, but things are happening. But I will say, do us a favor if you can before you get out of here. Hit that like button on the show, but also subscribe to the channel. There's so much good stuff out there. I got to be up here in about 6 hours. I have to coach my girls basketball team. And so hopefully we keep the momentum going. We're 1-0 so far. I'll report back Sunday and tell you if we are 2-0. But that's all I got. Blantons?
You want to know how good I felt about this game?
Dude,
I killed the bottle tonight.
That bottle was
I've been
not
waiting
empty.
for a reason to kill the bottle tonight. It was not also halfway full, to be clear. I'm not a degenerate. But I've been looking for a reason to kill the bottle, and that was the best I felt about the Grizzlies in a while. So, shout out here. I am keeping the bottle.
As D'Angelo says, we'll end out on this one. I think we ended on his last time, but let's go, Grizz Nation. Listen, we're all happy for the next couple of days.
Yep.
Until then, we'll see you all Sunday night back here, same time. See you. Be nice and tell your friends.